In our previous session, we left our example, right? We left our example incomplete. So let us complete our example. Expand your cookie demo example. In previous lecture, we defined one index.html file and one servlet file with name firstserve.java, right? We did a coding of these two pages. In firstservlet.java, what we have done is we set a cookie ck is equals to new cookie username comma n. Here the name of cookie is uname and value of this cookie is n. We'll get this value from the text box which is defined in our index.html page. Then we will add this cookie for giving a response back to your client, right? Then second servlet is defined with name servlet underscore 2. Will provide a submit button with value go. Now let us move to the second servlet page. Here again we need 3 different packages to run our servlet. First is java.io.star. Second package is javax.servlet.star. Third package is javax.servlet.http. Second servlet extends http servlet class, right? This is our inbuilt class. This is one of the way to define a servlet in Java. Okay, then we will take process request method. Here this method has 2 objects. First one is request and second one is response, and respectively of type http servlet request and http servlet response. Whenever you create a new servlet page, this method will come by default, right? No need to define it yourself. This method you will get ready-made. Now set the content type HTML and create one object of printWriter class with name out. Now we have defined one cookie in our first serve.java page, right? The value of that page we want to access in our second servlet page. For that I will write cookie ck, and here I have used the array symbol square brackets, right? As we have already learned how to define an array in Java in our previous semester, so no need to explain it. ck is a name given to object of type cookie, and here we are generating an array of cookie object ck equals to request.getCookie. To get the parameter, we'll use getCookie method. This will get all the cookies defined in our previous page and return all the values in object ck, right? Now we have only one cookie defined in our first servlet page. So here if you want to get the value of that cookie, you can use index number 0. If you define 2 cookies in your first servlet page, then you can get the value of that cookies in this current page through index number 0 and index number 1. But as I told you that we have defined only single cookie in our first servlet.java page with name unm, right? Uname. So here we can get all the properties of this cookie through index id 0. Out.print hello ck into square bracket I will pass 0 index number dot get value. This method of type cookie class will return a value defined for this cookie. Okay, whatever the client enter in text box, that value we will get in n, that will be stored in uname. Then through the cookie we'll get this same value in our second servlet page through this method. Right? This is the coding of our second servlet page. That's it. Same way you can pass the same value to another servlet page if required, right? For that, what you have to do is, again you have to define one new servlet page with third serve name. You have to add all the information of that page in Webxml file. Now let us go through the Webxml file, which is available in WebINF folder. Open your Webxml. By default, you will get a general tab. If you want to see a proper XML format, you have to select XML tab. Here you can see the pointer pointing on XML view. Click on this tab, and here you can see the XML code for Webxml file, right? As I told you that you will get ready-made coding in this file, which you have to do yourself if you are using Notepad editor. Okay. Our first tag of XML file is Servlet. Here the class name for our servlet is first servlet. And the name defined for the servlet is S1. Right? First servlet is a class name given to our first page, firstserve.java. This file is having a class with this name, firstserve. Class name is firstserve. We are giving a synonym to this page as S1. Similarly, same tag will define for our second page also, servlet. The name of class is servlet serve, second serve. Here you can see the class name is second serve. Okay, and the synonym for this page, this class, is S2. We'll recognize this servlet by S2. If you are going to define a third page, you can take the similar tag for your third page also. In similar way, S3, and instead of second, okay, like this. Now next is Servlet Mapping tag. We'll define a URL pattern for our servlets. As we have defined two servlets in our current demo with name S1 and S2, respectively we'll define a URL pattern for both these servlets. Servlet Mapping first tag. Here the name of servlet is S1, and URL pattern for this servlet is /servlet_1. This URL pattern you can use in your index.html file. Here you can set the value for action as a servlet underscore 1. Okay, same in a similar way, in my first servlet.java page, I'll create a submit button, and on click on submit, I want to execute servlet 2, right? So I wrote servlet underscore 2 over here, and go to Webxml file. You can observe that this is a URL pattern for our second page. Here what we have to do is we have to define a servlet mapping tag for our second servlet also. Ultimately this will run our second serve page. Fine. This code is not required. Session config, you can remove this part. Save your whole project and run it. As I told you, if you are using NetBeans IDE, then no need to install Tomcat server. This will start Glassfish server automatically, right? Now for running your project, right click on cookie demo and click on run. You can see the progress bar at the bottom corner of right side, and here Apache thereby network server started and ready to accept connection on port 1527. Glassfish server is started. Localhost 8080 is running, and cookie demo is the name of our project, and as I told you, our welcome file name is index.html. The file with the same name, index.html, always runs first by default, right? This file, whether you define a name of welcome file over here or not. Okay, in previous example I show you that you can mention the name of your welcome file in welcome file tag. If you want to keep other name, any other file as your welcome file, then you can define in Webxml file, right? You can mention the name of that file in your Webxml. In our index.html, we have defined one text box. So here it is. Enter a name and click on go button. This will execute your first servlet. As we have defined in code, action is servlet 1, right? So this will run the first servlet. In our first servlet, we had given a message, welcome message. Here it is, welcome n. As you can see, the value of n is Krishna. Then submit button you can see on the screen. Where did it come from? For that we have done a coding through this part, right? Submit button with value go is provided will be provided in your browser. Here it is. Now whenever you click on submit button, this will execute your second servlet, right? Now click on go button. Here you can see servlet 2. Let us switch back to our second servlet page. Here in second page, what we have done, we got all the values of cookie through cookie object. ck0, this is the only cookie available in our first page. Okay, we got the value of that cookie through get value method. This value will be displayed on the screen with hello. Switch back to browser. Here you can see hello Krishna, right? You can define one more cookie in a similar way in your second servlet, and you can move the value of that cookie in your next page. So in this way you can maintain the identity of your particular user. You can maintain the persistent cookie or unpersistent cookie. For that you have to set the age of that cookie, right? So how many files we have created? For our current example, number 1 is index.html. Second file is first servlet.java. Then we move from first to second servlet.java, and finally we define a Webxml, means deployment descriptor file. Here you have to keep one thing in your mind, no need to give an extension over here, first serve without extension. Similarly second servlet without any extension. Okay, and the URL pattern for your first servlet is /servlet1, and the URL pattern for your second servlet is /servlet2. Without entering any value in this text box, click on go. You will get nothing on your second servlet page. Similarly, click on go again, you will get nothing on third page, right? So this is an example of cookie. You have to write all the files in your journals: index.jsp, first servlet.java, second servlet.java, as well as web.xml. Right. In the next session we will cover the fourth method to maintain the identity of client through session interface. Let us finish our session here. Thank you. Thank you.